This is a blow to transparency and a blow to a free press.
2020 candidate Tulsi Gabbard was on MSNBC with Chris Matthews, where she did, I think, a fairly fantastic job in discussing the issue with the indictment of Julian Assange. Watch.
What do you make of our effort to extradite and indict and punish probably Julian Assange?
I'm deeply concerned by what's happened today. We look back at the Obama administration's decision during his time not to do this, not to try to extradite Assange and charge him because of their concern about how this government action would impinge on freedom of the press. This is a blow to transparency and a blow to a free press when you have a situation where our government, is in a position where they can basically create this climate of fear against somebody or those who are publishing things that they don't like or saying things that they don't like. And that's the concern here. This is a threat to journalists, but it's also something that threatens every American, because the message that we are getting, that the American people are getting by what's happened here today is, be quiet, toe the line, otherwise there will be consequences.
I'm Chris Matthews. What do you think of Julian Assange? Sorry, I've just been looking for a place to do my Chris Matthews impression. This was great. So look, Tulsi Gabbard, as far as I've seen, is the only 2020 candidate that is actually saying this. So, I mean, props to her for coming out on the right side of this issue, discussing. I mean, this shouldn't be hard for other candidates to talk about, because Obama, as she says, didn't prosecute Julian Assange over the threat to press freedom. So why can't these other candidates just come out and say, yeah, this does not set a good precedent for the press? So anyways, whatever. Props to Tulsi Gabbard for actually being willing to voice this. Now, just to give you an example of what the hashtag resistance people are saying, Hillary Clinton's reaction to this is so terrible. So check this out. Hillary Clinton says it's good that Assange will face charges in the U.S., and she does not worry it will harm journalism because he is being charged for hacking. But she adds, it's ironic that he's the only foreigner Trump will let into the country. Crowd laughs. So funny. This is wrong. I mean, apart from the dumb joke at the end, what she says here is wrong. This is not about hacking. So check out this. The words hack or hacking do not appear even once in the text of the Assange indictment or the press release. So why are all the news headlines using it? They've been snookered by a press release headline. So this headline from the DOJ, WikiLeaks founder charged in computer hacking conspiracy, is the reason why all the press and people like Hillary Clinton are saying that Julian Assange is under indictment for hacking, even though he never did. So I did a whole breakdown on the indictment yesterday in a video, so I don't want to go through the whole thing here, but it's not about hacking. And the issue with the indictment is that it focuses on the relationship between journalists and their sources. And anyways, I don't want to get too deep into it, but go watch that video. You'll have a better understanding of what this actually, why this is a threat to press freedom. Now, I want to show you another clip here, actually, from the same interview with Tulsi Gabbard, because Chris Matthews is having an awakening. So let me play this clip, and it's kind of funny to see Chris Matthews acknowledge his sort of double standard here, or his awareness that the politicians that he loves have a terrible record when it comes to foreign policy.
How can you explain that every major Democrat in the United States Congress, I mean, the people I would generally like, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, John Kerry, they all supported the Iraq war. They all did it. They haven't apologized that I know about it. Yeah. They all started back that stupid war. Why? Why do smart people back a stupid war? And they did.
Look, it's unfortunate to see how the influence of the foreign policy establishment in Washington, the military-industrial complex, so often goes and wages these regime change wars under the guise of humanitarianism, saying, well, we're going to go in and try to help people in these countries, when in fact every single time what we see is these regime change wars that our country leads ends up increasing the suffering of people in those countries, increasing the devastation. And as we've seen in the Middle East, in countries like Iraq and Libya and Syria, our regime change wars have made our country less safe by strengthening terrorist groups like ISIS and al-Qaeda. The real threat that we're facing right now, Chris, this is an existential threat with this heightening of tensions between the United States and countries like Russia and China, nuclear-armed countries that have propelled us into this new Cold War.
You're right, Tulsi. These regime change wars are terrible. Okay, I'll stop. Again, I mean, Tulsi Gabbard is largely great on this issue when it comes to war. So, again, props to Tulsi Gabbard for being on the right side of these issues. And look, her before I get to Chris Matthews, who appears to be having an awakening, look, I've had some criticisms of Tulsi Gabbard, like I do of all the candidates. But when I voice my critiques of Tulsi Gabbard, it's like the end of the world on Twitter. People are coming after me. Like, guys, everybody has issues. So understand here that just because we are critiquing the candidates like Tulsi Gabbard doesn't mean that they are completely terrible. No, Tulsi Gabbard, I put in my top 3. I mean, I think Bernie's number 1, obviously. Elizabeth Warren, I do put number 2, even though I don't, even though she has terrible political instincts in terms of, like knowing who to endorse in 2016. And she also is weak for some reason on Medicare for all. But she is, Warren is laying out some fantastic policy, especially when it comes to these massive corporations and Wall Street. But Tulsi Gabbard, I think, is a solid number 3. And I think Tulsi Gabbard is up there in terms of potential VP picks for Bernie, assuming Bernie wins the nomination. So again, props to Tulsi here. And Chris Matthews. I don't know what's going on, but I mean, this is the first time, maybe he's done this before. This is the first time that I've seen him publicly acknowledge that he likes these certain candidates, but they have a terrible record, or these politicians like Joe Biden, but they have a terrible record when it comes to foreign policy, like with the Iraq War, supporting the Iraq War, and Hillary Clinton supporting the Iraq War. I mean, I feel like Chris Matthews has the potential to be a little more progressive if he got out of the corporate bubble that he is currently in. Because I don't know how someone like Chris Matthews can look at Bernie Sanders and have any real criticisms of him. I mean, Bernie's politics on issues like war is fairly good. He was against the Iraq War. He's against these regime change wars. He supports labor movements and unions and higher wages. And Chris Matthews, his audience is generally more working class, even though, to be honest, I don't exactly know who watches Chris Matthews anymore, but I assume at least back in the day, his audience was more working class. So maybe Chris Matthews is beginning to have a small awakening here, and having people like Tulsi Gabbard on his show, I think, also helps with that process.